And here in chapter 3, we're going to actually talk about something called functions. You know, a lot of times when you're programming, there's code that is able to, you need to use it more than one time. And so instead of copy and pasting it, we're going to learn how to create what most languages call functions. Sometimes, like in JavaScript, they're called methods. There's different things, but they actually, what they are is like a snippet of code that is self-contained. And you separate it out from the normal flow of the code, and it can be called upon numerous times within your code. Let me make this a little bit larger, even if I have to scroll here. Okay, so this chapter, what it talks about is that sometimes you have to repeat things within your program. So here in the program that we've been working on, the Starbuzz program, the CEO has decided that he wants an extra option. So when the coffee beans start to run low in an outlet, the Starbuzz need to be able to send an emergency order to the CEO. The outlets need some way of immediately requesting the purchase of coffee beans at the current price, regardless of what that price is. So what we want to do is look at what the new program needs to do. And the new program needs to give the user two options. The first option is to watch and wait for the price of coffee beans to drop. If the user chooses this option, the program should run exactly as it did before. But then the second option is for the user to place an emergency order. And if the user chooses this option, then the program should immediately display the current price from the supplier's website. Okay, so here's the existing code, and what they ask you to do is to select the code that you would use or reuse to generate the emergency report. So if you were to circle that, it shows us on the next page what that is. This is the code that you can reuse. It's circled right there in the middle. Whether you wait for the right price or request an emergency order, you'll need this code in each case. Of course, with the exceptions of this is the incorrect website, and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. Does that mean that we have to duplicate the code each time? Well, if we did that, being this length or greater. So whenever you want to use code more than once, and it's the same code. Now, don't mistake this for a loop. You could have a function inside a loop. In this instance, we're not talking about looping a number of times. We're talking about code that you want to call and use. So if we look here, we don't want to duplicate code. Sometimes that's called code bloat. Here's the printout. This is a funny cartoon of it, or demonstration of it, but that's basically what programmers used to do before there was such thing as functions or methods, is they would just duplicate the code everywhere they needed it in their program. Well, if you reuse your code instead, then the programming languages that we will be using all come with this feature, how to reuse code. But when you reuse code, you have a single copy of the code that you can call in all the places that you need it. Not only will your programs be shorter, but it also means that when you amend code, it'll be easier to find. If you need to change something in it, you only have to change it in one place. So code reuse is a good thing, but how do you do it? So you use something called functions. And if you look at this example of the box here, that's really what a function is like. It's a boxed up piece of reusable code. And it can only be opened when there's a call made to it, and then it goes straight back to execute the code right below it. So here's a little example. And in Python, the way we define a function is with DEF, which makes sense. That's what the beginning of the word define. Here's some Python code that defines a make smoothie function. And you'll notice there's always a double parentheses after a function name. That's the way you know that it is not a variable name. It is a function here because of the parents. And then everything that is part of the function is indented. Now, in Python, it's important that you define the function before you use it. So make sure the code that calls or uses the function comes after the definition of the function. So that also is true in just about every language. Sometimes, like JavaScript, you can put the functions at the bottom and it starts executing, and then when it makes the call, it goes down to the bottom and executes it. But it really makes more sense if you want to say all of the languages really want the code first, the function first. So let's use functions to share codes within your program. So then it has you do these code magnets exercises, which are very good because it lets you put these in the order you think. And before you can execute this code that we said would be pulled out, you have to, first of all, import the URL live request. But we'll just go to the next page and look at the answer of this. Here's where you need to import the libraries before you can use them in a function. And then this is how you would define the function. And every function in Python has to have a semicolon at the end. And in JavaScript, it was like that for every statement, which was a lot more cumbersome, or a lot more to remember. So the function definition starts here. Then this is the name of the function. And then a colon at the end. I said it wrong. JavaScript has semicolons. The body of the function needs to be indented underneath the function, and then the function needs to be declared before it's called. So here's the function, here's the call to it, and the function definition ends right here. This line isn't indented because it's part of the main program. So you always get things in the right order. That's what is important. So now here is the code, and I want you to type it in and make it work. But for the sake of time, I've already got it typed in over here in idle. Here's the way it should be on your page. It's typed in here, and then you would, if you were to run it, here's what it would do. And you'll notice all I've done is define the function. Here's the reusable code here. But I did change the website there to beansrsappspot.com prices.html. If you remember, that had to be changed last time. So here's that link to that website. That's still in Evernote. So this is the code, just the code that we copied, and then here is the call to the function. So even though this function is defined up here, the main program starts up here before that. And then the only thing is, this has to be before the call. So this statement will run, and then it will skip down because this is not part of the program. Then it says get price, which causes it to go up to the top of the function and execute and then stop. Okay, so let's run it. And there is the cost currently of coffee. There it says current price of coffee beans, price valid for 15 minutes. Let me see, it may have already changed. $6.71. Wow, it changes real often. So I don't know, but it did come up with the cost of the coffee. So our program did run. I want you to type it in and see if you can get it to run on the test drive. And if you have any questions, I did type this in. You can, if you find it somewhere, for sure, you can copy and paste it. One thing that I don't know if we covered, this is that same way that we define a substring, only it's using a variable instead of a constant here. So it says where equals text.find $. So it's going to this spot in the string, and then it's saying where plus 2 is called start of price, and then end of price is start of price plus 4. So then here's the string text, and it's saying to start here, and remember that it ends one character before this one. Okay, so that's how that works. So let's go back over to our book. So we tested it. When this code runs, the price is displayed right away. Note, you may see a different price when you run your code, which we did. The price appears immediately. You can reuse the function in lots of different programs. But now the code prints out the price. Big deal. It's just a pity you actually need to get the price and use it. So how do we do that? So with this current version of get price function, prints out the price of coffee beans every time it's used or called. And so you'd have to keep running the program, and it will do that. But now, what's the current price? 5.51 was at that time, and so that's the reusable code. Now, what if we wanted to return that price back to our main program and use it for something? So we're going to take that print line out and put return. And this is something that every function has the ability to do, is to return a value. So here what we're doing is returning, instead of printing, we're returning it back to the main program. So here when it gets to get price, what we did is we set whatever value it gets equal to the variable price. So it's returning that 551 or whatever it gets to, and it's putting that amount into the variable price. So now I can use that variable and do other things in the main program. And so here are some things that you want to be sure and read over. Why the return command is just like print, except nothing appears on the screen. Well, that's sort of right. Like whenever we use that random integer function, that was a pre-built function. Before, it did do the returns in it. Instead of return, it would be pretty useless if it didn't do that. So these are some things that you need to read over and make sure you understand. There's a little acronym down here, a guiding principle among programmers known as DRY, don't repeat yourself. So it's really a way to share the repeated code in a controlled way is what a function does. So using the new get price function, you're to write a new version of the price checking program that does this. Ask the user to indicate if the price is required immediately. Yes or no. If the user chooses Y for yes, find the current price and display it on the screen. Otherwise, check the price every 15 minutes until it falls below 474. then and only then display the price on the screen. Okay, so here's the new code. We've added an if price is the same as y, print get price, else price equals 99.99, while price is greater than 4.74. So this is the part that we left in the old program, right? And so we pulled it out of the middle and placed it in a function here. And so now when we call the function, we're going to return price. Okay, and then we print buy. It says, if the user decides to wait for the price to drop, get the price using the get price function, then use the given value to decide whether or not it's time to buy coffee. Okay, so let's see how this runs. There's the actual code for it. So let's add this at this point, and then this will be the last thing that we'll do in chapter 3 for right now. This is the design principle here is reuse code with functions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get over here so I can type it in a little easier. Let me see. That's okay. So this is on page, I believe, 91. Go here so I can see it a little better. Okay. So I'm going to also make this a floated value. Let's see if anything else changed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my program in idle. And this time I'm going to change this print to say return. And I'm going to change that value to a float value. I believe that's all that changed in the top part. Okay, then in my main section now, I'm done with my function. I'm going to say create a variable called price underscore now is equal to input. So we're going to ask the user to input do you want to see the price now? And then in parentheses, so they know what we want, we'll put y/in and question mark, closing quote, closing parent. So now we have to see what they actually entered here. So we'll say if price underscore now double equals, remember when we do a comparison, we have to say double equals y colon and then print get price. Okay, and then it goes back to else colon price equals 99.99 while, so here's my loop, while price is greater than 4.74, which is what it told us in the problem. If that happened, then we want to say time.sleep times seconds, I think. Then price equals get underscore price. Underscore price, get underscore price. And so now that's what will make the call up to my function. And then I go back and say print buy. All right, so now I don't need the get price down here because I'm using it in my if else. Okay, so I'm going to do price, but I don't really ever print out price. So I won't know if it's correct. I think I'm going to have it print price also. Print. And then we'll have it print by when it drops out, because that means it's greater than, while price it's dropped below 4.74. All right, so I'm going to run it. Let's see what happens. Save as, and this will be page 91. You want to see the price now? Let's say yes. Oh, it only gave me 623. So my while loop didn't work. Why do you think my while loop didn't work? Price may need to be declared float. So I may need to say input price now, yes. Print, get price. Oh, that's what it did. I see. If price now, yes, then it did correct. Okay, let's go here and let's put no and see what happens. Say no. Oh, it didn't work. Line 17. Time is not defined. Okay, so it's not going to let me do that time dot sleep it doesn't like. Okay, so I thought that's what they was called. Let's look at this pre-built function here. I thought we had one to run like that, but maybe not. Maybe we did. We took that out. Thought it had all of those that work. Time dot clock, time dot daylight. This returns 0. Well, let's just take that out. You remember how we take that out with the pound sign. So let's just go in there and see if it runs without waiting. Oh, it doesn't look like it's going to drop below 474. Because the price of coffee's gone up so much, it may never drop down that low. So I probably need to change my loop up there. Okay, let's see if it'll escape out. Let me see. I may not be able to get it to escape out. Okay, let's kill it. Okay, so let's go back and let's raise this up some. Let's say when the price drops before 5.90, okay? And let's try running it again. And now if we say no again. Oh, it dropped the first time below. So it says buy it. Okay, so it does work. All right, so this one, if you see the difference, it actually went up here And when it called it, it returned this floated value into price. So that will be all that we'll cover tonight. And hopefully this will help you guys tomorrow. And I will see you in class on Thursday. If you have any questions tomorrow evening, please be able, or tomorrow morning, I won't be answering them, but in the afternoon, I should be back in the office and can answer them for you. Have a good morning.